Hello everyone and welcome to another video. How is everyone doing and how is your weekend? Well, I hope that everyone is fine and having a good time. Well, in today's video, I have a different approach as you can see. I would like to share this set of runes with you, and it is mainly around Grasp of the Undying. But before we delve into that subject, I wanted to share with you this specific game because I have encountered a peculiar player. It is the heavy cocaine KHA'ZIX user, and I don't think that this guy is a first-timer, so yeah, and if you are wondering about the chat box, I was streaming this game on the YouTube livestream, and suddenly this guy appeared from nowhere. He wanted to contest, and it was a little bit weird because he came out of nowhere, and it turned out in his favor. In a weird way, I feel I lost the duel early game. I think that the loss was mainly because our Lulu decided to solo kill support. But it is fair and it is fine. I think he made a stupid call that turned out very well. And to my other surprise, he came again with a strong mentality. And in the second invade, I think he did a good play because I can't outsmite him. But lucky to us, his greed got the best of him. But hey, we managed to kill him. And he went from bad play to a good play to a stupid play. Pretty good to us now. But the main reason behind this game is that we picked Grasp of the Undying, and you might wonder why. The main reason is that I had no idea what to build against their composition. And their composition is tricky. They have Zoe, they have KHA'ZIX, they have Mundo, they have Morgana. So yeah, they have every champion that might tilt you or beat you. I devised this plan specifically when I have games where I have no idea who or how to playing against. The downside of this build is that it is very weak in the early game. It is almost one of the weakest runes that you can go on Volibear in the early game. The good side, however, is that it scales super effectively in the late game if you manage to stack it consistently. Trades are made for lane players, but on good occasions you can stack to rune faster, and you will start to build consistent HP. But I think that League of Legends is mainly around testing, finding out new playstyles, new gameplay, and enjoying yourself. And in this situation, you will see that it is actually pretty strong even with just a few stacks. KHA'ZIX will start having a difficult time, even if he gets fully fed in the late game. And if we are both fed, I don't think an assassin should be able to kill a tank. It is against the rules of the game. But this is a League of Legends. You never know. Maybe there is a secret build for assassins that can one-shot everyone, including tanks. Now, if you are wondering about the build I'm a bit addicted to, it is the End in Despair into Spirit Visage. And this build is somewhat simple yet super easy to master. Because if I can put it in simple words, the build itself is a champion. In other words, the build doesn't rely on Volibear. You can build those two items on anyone, and it will still be effective. They heal and do damage when you are surrounded by enemies. And it is broken. Not super broken, but you can prolong the fight way longer than the enemy expects. And there are also hidden aspects about this build. It is effective against invisible units since the drain starts whenever you are engaging in a fight. And if KHA'ZIX goes invisible, the proc of the Despair item will indicate the location or direction of KHA'ZIX. It can also do the same against champions like Teemo or Twitch. So this item can have many benefits. The only downside is that if your team is behind, you can still choose the item. I believe that the item stats are almost 95% gold efficient, hence you are not losing much gold value when buying the item. So if we put on top of it the drain and the team fights with the damage and the hidden tracking, the item is, on average, a very good item to buy. The Spirit Visage, however, is situational. I don't like to buy it often. I think that the rune, Revitalize, is enough to compensate for the item. But it is not a bad thing to go for Spirit Visage second. You can go for an offensive item like Nashor's Tooth or Navori. But to be safe, you can go Spirit Visage, then a third offensive item. Now that we have explained the build, I think it is important to understand what to do when you don't know what to do. There is a forgotten rule about League of Legends, and that is the jungle is a lane. It is not a support role, it is a lane. You have farm, you have camps that spawn periodically, and it is objective driven around strong lanes. So whenever you don't have any idea what to do, simply clear your whole side and go to the lane that is already winning. This is like a no-brain strategy that works every time. Whenever you are confused about what to do in the game, for example, you just went from silver to gold and you think that gold players play in a different way than silver players. You are mistaken, but fear not. Simply full clear. Then look at the tab, see who is ahead, having kills, having gold, and shadow that person. This is the strategy that you can use to ensure that you are not a problem in the game. It doesn't mean that you will win the game. It just means that you have found a suboptimal solution to stay viable in the game. You might have made mistakes in your decisions as a jungler to know who to gank, how to create your win condition. but sometimes you don't know who the win condition is. They all look bad in your opinion. So you wait for 5 minutes of gameplay. Then you decide based on the performance who you will be ganking and making into a strong side of the game. Now that we have reached the mid-game, I think I am starting to get a feel for the amount of damage I can take without dying, and the amount of damage I can output against 1 or 2 champions. This part of the game is crucial to establish a dominant side, or at least have a vision on how to win the game. So far we have a good Syndra, a slow but good Cho'Gath, and a viable AD carry. Our support is not that great for some unknown reason, and I am a bit behind from my second item. The enemy team is also having the same situation, except the problem is their jungler. I think I hurt his ego or I did something to piss him off, but maybe the early game fail affected his mental state, or he is simply a heavy cocaine user who thinks KHA'ZIX can kill anyone in the late game. He thinks that we have already reached the late game because he's playing so aggressively while he should be playing more patiently. As the lore says, KHA'ZIX is a champion that evolves throughout the game, so every stage of the game requires patience and seeking only winning opportunities. Of course, that doesn't apply to me, but I am building in a way that when KHA'ZIX reaches the late game, he cannot kill me in a 1v1. This is my goal for my team. I don't think the bot lane can survive his engage, however. I can say the same about myself if I am left alone against their composition. I can, I think, kill anyone except for Zoe because she is so slippery. But yeah, so far we are doing really well in this game. It is almost even, slightly in our favor. The other issue is that it is hard to engage against a composition when they have Morgana and Zoe. Their composition is somehow an anti-engage. They are only good at picking targets, having skirmishes, and slowing the tempo of the game. On the other hand, we have 2 frontliners, 1 control mage and a hyper carry, so my role is to start the fight. Usually I don't like these games. I prefer that the enemy team initiates. That way we can navigate and control the game somewhat. But when it is you that should be the one starting the fight, it is almost certain that your team will not follow up on your call. And that is why, at the start of the game, I had this feeling that I should build towards a dueling build. I don't know yet what my next item will be at this instant, but I know that this game doesn't require me to stay passive. I should be active, making plays even if they don't work. Even if my teammates fail and let me die, it will be okay as long as I am making the play at the right time. By the end of the mid-game, possibly at the start of the late game, my team will start to follow up on my calls. This usually happens unless my team gets tilted because they think I am suiciding. Yet I'm trying to make them adapt or follow up on my aggressive playstyle, because the enemy composition requires me to be like that. The reason why I wanted to share this specific game is because the build in this game was much more effective than in many other games I played with this base. I survived so many close calls just from the healing of the unending despair. As you can see, this is what they call a $2 build. The build is mainly for defensive reasons. However, if you start to dance in the fight, you can play around your cooldowns. In this specific game, the grasp of the Undying started to do more work than intended. For example, you get more healing on each bite and on your auto attacks, and that simple fact allows you to trick the enemy into thinking, he will die now. Nope, he's still alive. He will die now. No, he's still alive, I'm sure he will die at this instant. Nope, he is still alive. And this effect starts to construct in their mind the idea that you are almost unkillable. The more you show stubbornness, the more they invest into killing you, hence allowing your team to play more freely. This doesn't mean that you are invincible. This is the closest way for Volibear to play the game as a frontline that can't be killed, but only survives when the fight is suitable for his own playstyle. You will also notice that in the late game, because we are having a Cho'Gath, this allowed me to go from frontline to a somewhat tank assassin, like the guy that will throw himself in and kill the enemy with his own weight. This technique is somewhat fishy because usually I cannot play like this against some enchanters. For example, Karma, Lulu, Melio, or Janna. But if the enemy picks any other support that has temporary CC, or slow CC, or just soft CC, I can simply walk through the fight towards their carry and sustain damage to kill him. This is, specifically for my own gameplay, a thrilling experience because it symbolizes the fact that you are walking a path against all odds toward your objective that you set up your mind to do, and you end up doing it. Unlike many games where you are simply dead before the game starts. So, yeah, this build is effective. I was having a hard time finding out my 4th and 3rd item. I decided to go for Warmog's armor. And the main reason is that you will notice that whenever we fight, I will walk away with like 200 health or 300 and start to look for a camp in the jungle so that I can sustain. But if I have Warmogs, the fact that I go in the jungle will benefit me with instant mana regeneration. I only need HP regeneration. And imagine if you can slip from the fight for just 5 seconds. You will come back with full HP. And that will demotivate the enemy team from having any fights with you around. And that fact will make you target #1 in each team fight. If there is any downside, I will let you know in the comments. But so far, against Assassins and Poke, Warmogs as your third item is the most effective counterpick to have. It is like your insurance policy against this composition, with this last solo kill against their ADC carry. I will leave you, my dear viewers, until another video. If you have any questions about the build, feel free to leave me a comment or simply come and ask them directly when I am streaming on YouTube. As always, make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel and drop a like. It has been a pleasure. Take care all in peace.